Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Social Media Basics for Small Business. So glad to have everyone here, and thanks for taking the time to attend this live webinar. My name is Sarah Burke, and I'm going to be your presenter today. I'm also the content marketer at Spokal, and I've been doing this job for the last 9 or 10 months or so. It's an amazing job, and it gives me a really good opportunity to talk to small business owners and startups all the time and get to know what they really need. And one of the things I get asked a lot about is social media. And while I can answer all of these questions individually, I'm a firm believer that if one person's asking a question, that there's probably about 10 other people behind them asking the same thing, but not vocalizing it. So I thought putting together a webinar on the topic would be super useful. Here's a look at what we're going to be talking about today. First, I'm going to discuss why social media is so great for small business. Then I'll discuss the top 5 social media platforms, and I'll go into a little bit of detail on those. Then I'll run through what to share and when to share it. And finally, I'm going to finish with some actionable tips on how to get you started with that. But before we get into that, just a few housekeeping details. So this webinar will be recorded, and a replay of the webinar will be sent to your inbox just a few hours after the webinar finishes. There's also going to be a 5-minute opening for you guys at the end of the webinar to ask any questions that you have. I am on my own today, so if you can hold your questions to the end, that'd be amazing. So let's jump right in. Why is social media so great for your small business? It's an important question because if you're not convinced that social media will benefit your business, then you'll probably be less likely to devote the time and energy to it that it needs. So the first reason social media is so great for small business is that everyone is on it. Now, I know this isn't normally a great reason to do anything, but the thing is with marketing, if your audience is there and your competition is there, then you should be there too. And if you're not, you're going to be missing a huge opportunity because people are on social media to ask questions, to get information, to start conversations. And if you're not there to answer those questions, to give that information, and to join in on those conversations, you can guarantee that your competition is. So 87% of B2Bs and 86% of B2Cs are on social media. That's a huge percentage of businesses that are already on social media. And 89% of 18 to 29-year-olds and 82% of 30 to 49-year-olds are on social media too. And again, that's a huge percentage of the population. That means there's huge potential to market your business there. Social media also guides purchasing decisions. So consumers are 71% more likely to make a purchasing decision based on a social media referral. And out of 53 consumers who said they use Twitter to recommend companies or products in their tweets, 48% actually bought that product or service. 74% of consumers rely on social networks to guide purchasing decisions. So it's not just that they do guide purchasing decisions, it's that people understand that they guide purchasing decisions and act on those referrals that are happening on social media. Another great reason to use social media for your business is that it's amazing for word of mouth. So remember the time before the internet when we used to get reviews of products and services from our friends and our neighbors, and we used to kind of have these discussions over the backyard fence. Well, social media is the new backyard fence. 81% of US online consumers' purchasing decisions are influenced by their friends' social media posts, and 43% of consumers are more likely to buy a new product when learning about it on social media. So word of mouth is one of the most powerful marketing tools that we have at our disposal. So it's really important to realize the potential that social media has in driving word of mouth marketing. And finally, the last reason that social media is so great for business is that it actually helps with your SEO, so your search engine optimization. Social signals from likes, tweets, shares, etc. tell search engine bots that your content is good, and they use this information to rank that content higher in search engine result pages. And this is happening more and more as the years go on and as social is becoming a huge driving force in or on the internet. So now that we've established why social media is so great for your business, let's talk about what's going on these social media platforms that make it so good for your business. How does it actually work? So imagine that this is your website and a customer comes in and they like what you're doing and they have an amazing customer experience. So they leave your store, but they decide that they want to keep in touch via social media. And you engage with them on social media and you give them even more of a great experience and you keep your business at the top of their minds. So you're enticing them to return to your website. You're retaining those customers. And this cycle can happen again and again, so long as your service and your products stay up to the standard that your customer expects. But social media engagement has a secondary function as well. It drives social visibility, which means that more people can see you. And the more people that can see you, the more prospects that you have. And as you know, the more prospects that you have, the more customers that you have. So as you can see, that engagement that you get on social media not only helps you retain customers like we saw in the first cycle, but it also generates new ones like we see in the second part of the cycle. So which social media platform is best for your business? You can't be on them all. There's a lot out there, and I don't have time to go through them all either. So I'm just going to discuss the top 5, which are Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook. So let's start with Facebook, which is the most popular social media network out there. Everyone is on it. That's your audience, practically everybody. And they're looking for text posts, visuals, memes, videos, anything entertaining, anything interesting, anything educational. And that's what makes Facebook amazing for textual content, for sharing photos, for sharing videos. It all works. It's used mainly by B2Bs and B2Cs and nonprofits. Basically, everyone can market on Facebook. The second most popular platform is Twitter. It has a lot of users with 650 million people on it. On average, they're a little younger, but their income tends to be a little higher. People go on to Twitter to learn about updates, trends, news. It's a very, very fast-moving platform. So this is where you'll hear all the most breaking news, the newest information, the viral content. This is where it goes to really take off, and this is kind of the first place you'll see it as well. Because of that, it's really good for sharing original and curated content and obviously news. Like Facebook, B2Cs, B2Bs, nonprofits, etc., all can market successfully on Twitter. LinkedIn, however, is a little more specific. It's a business-oriented social media platform. So it has 300 million people on it, but they only use it for about 4 or less hours a week. And again, it's mostly business that they're on for. But people go onto LinkedIn to learn about industry news, tips, advice, and just general business-related content. Because of this, it's become a great place for thought leadership. So if you want to become a thought leader in your industry, LinkedIn is a great place to nurture that, but it's also a great place to read content from other thought leaders in your industry. Because it is a business-oriented social media platform, it's mostly B2Bs that successfully market on it. Google Plus has an audience of 500 million active monthly users. They're mostly male and they're mostly professionals. It's like Facebook in that people look for all kinds of content here. And Google Plus has some really great communities that you can follow and read others' content on. So it increases your expertise, and you have really amazing conversations with people in those communities. But it's also great for increasing your searchability. So And a lot of people believe that the more plus ones and the more engagement you get on Google Plus, the higher you rank in search engine result pages. B2Cs and B2Bs market successfully on it. Pinterest is another social media platform that's targeted at a very niche audience. 80% of its 70 million users are female, and it's a very, very visual platform. So photos of products and graphics and infographics work really, really well on Pinterest. It's mostly used by B2Cs, and it actually gets more referral traffic than Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, and Google Plus combined. So it's very, very consumer facing. It's very consumer driven, and it's products that tend to work the best on Pinterest. So I've given you a rundown of the top 5, but of course there are plenty of other social media platforms out there. For example, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Snapchat, Tumblr, Sue, etc., etc. And sometimes these alternative social media platforms can actually work better for businesses than the more popular sites. So I'm saying this because it doesn't do any harm to do some research into these platforms and get comfortable on these platforms before you try them out for business, and see if there are any other social media networks that might work well for you. I've encountered plenty of businesses that haven't even set up a Twitter page or a Facebook page, something that seemed like a staple, 3 years ago. But they've successfully been able to market themselves on more visual platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. I've also spoken to businesses who have seen phenomenal success on Reddit and Tumblr, but their Twitter accounts are completely empty. They're just kind of like placeholders. So do think outside the box in terms of social media. It does absolutely no harm to have to put some time aside and look at the different platforms that you think might work best for you. But what do you actually say on these platforms? It all depends on your business, of course. There isn't a clear set of rules that you have to follow. But just to give you a starting point, the 5-3-2 rule is often used as a template for good social sharing etiquette. And all that this means is that for every 10 pieces of content you share, 5 should be curated content, 3 should be your own content, and 2 should be entertaining or personal or kind of off-topic content. Again, this is just a template, so I do suggest playing around with it and testing it and see what ratios work out best for you. For example, in Spokal, we follow something vaguely similar to this, but we've tweaked it a little bit so that it's more effective for our audience. So curated content is content that you find from another source in your industry. And a good portion of your content should be curated from other people. I like to think of this like you're sitting down at a dinner table and you're having a conversation with the person next to you. It's really, really rude to just be talking about yourself all the time. You want to be finding topics that you both have an interest in that's not just promoting yourself. So that's what curated content does. It makes you less of a broadcaster online. People start to trust what you're sharing because they know you're sharing things because it's valuable, not because you're trying to sell them anything. So to curate content, you simply find relevant content in your industry that your audience will love. You can find these on emails, newsletters, social media, and there are platforms such as Scoop.it and StumbleUpon. Medium is also becoming a really huge competitor in this. There are plenty of sites with a lot of content on it that you can use and you can share with your audience. Don't forget to mention the person or business that the content is from, because this actually builds relationships with businesses in your industry, which is actually so important for marketing. 30% of your content can be your own. But by saying that, I'm not telling you to be salesy. People don't like following brands or businesses that always push their own stuff and do it really, really obviously. So personalize your social sharing. Don't always do headlines plus link to post. It's boring. People start to block it out. It just doesn't get the same engagement. So personalize it. Make it seem more human. Oh, and also don't forget to add an image to the post whenever possible, because visuals, even on Twitter, which isn't a really visual platform, still get a lot more engagement on social media than simple text posts. And finally, 20% of your content should be personal or funny. This is a great place to show people you're human. It makes a business much more likable. So just put some quotes up or a funny cartoon that you think will entertain your audience, that you think they'll be interested in, that you think will give them a little bit of maybe a laugh during the day, or will inspire them to work harder, or whatever it is. Make a connection. So now you know what to post. Let's talk about when to post or tweet or share or whatever. Again, this varies from business to business, and you have to test it to really figure out what works best for you. For Facebook, it's advisable to post about 3 times a week. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, especially if you're used to using Facebook for personal reasons, but that's the quantity of posts that get the most engagement. People aren't on Facebook to be sold to. Just remember that. People are on Facebook to talk to their friends and family, and that's becoming more and more obvious as the years go on. So it's good to post on Facebook, and Facebook still can be quite effective in terms of marketing, but 3 times a week is the suggested amount before you might start annoying people. Also, Saturdays are a really good day to post on Facebook because, you know, people are off for the weekend. They have time to look through their streams or their timelines, and they are likely to engage with you a little bit more. Twitter is really fast, so you can post content there anywhere from 18 minutes to 2 hours without ever annoying somebody. Pinterest, you can post as much as you want. A lot of Pinterest is just curated content, and the more the merrier. Google Plus is about 1 to 2 posts per day. There's not a lot of studies on this. It's just this number I got from a few of the big Google Plus superstars. They would suggest 1 to 2 times per day, but I posted more and it's been fine. So I'm not 100% sure that you can't go over that limit. And LinkedIn themselves suggest that you post 20 times a month, which works out to about 5 times a week. So that's 1 post per weekday. Obviously, if you're working the weekends or you want to do all the posts at once, you know, that can work out for you as well. But 20 posts a month or 1 post per weekday. So I've given you a lot of information there. How do you get started? Which platform do you get started on? You can't go onto them all, and I wouldn't suggest that you do. Personally, I would suggest choosing 1 to start off with, and then just getting really good at that one and getting into the swing of things before you move on to another. To do that, it's a good idea to look at the pros and cons. So with Facebook, there's a lot of people and everyone loves to share content on it, which is amazing for marketers. And because most people are on it, there's this ease of communication that is just amazing for customer service as well. But it is quite noisy and it can be quite hard to be heard through all the other content that's flying at people. And it doesn't help that there's actually a low organic reach. So not everyone that is following you will see your posts. Twitter, on the other hand, is probably noisier than Facebook, but brands and people still love it, and they love that about it. Tweets are really easy and quick because they're only about 140 words. So it's really good for marketing. And people expect to be marketed on Twitter, which is the best part of this. 49% of people prefer to hear from a business on Twitter than on any other social media platforms. So people really do expect to be marketed there. In terms of cons, Twitter is really, really fast. So you have to post quite often in order for your content to be effective. And it isn't great for image-based content, like I said a little bit earlier, but sharing images does help increase your engagement. The problem is that it doesn't really highlight a product. So while an image may help with engagement, it doesn't really highlight the product or the image that you're sharing. Google Plus is amazing to talk to a super targeted audience. So like I said before, there are Google Plus communities there, and you can join specific ones to your industry. And when you share content there, you can be almost guaranteed that everyone there is interested in your posts. You know, you're not sharing woolly sweaters to someone in Hawaii. You know, you're sharing woolly sweaters to maybe an Irish blog or an Irish Google Plus community. I say Irish because I'm from Ireland and I know that it's nice and rainy there. The cons are that it's quite quiet still, and it has a bit of a bad rep for almost copying Facebook. There's also a bit of doubt being shed on when Google Plus will, or how long it will last, rather. So people aren't super confident that it's something that they should invest a lot of time in. So it's also quite similar to Facebook. People tend to not love it as much as they do Facebook, but then when they do like it, they really love it. So there's a love-hate thing with Google+. LinkedIn has a really large organic reach. So when you put your content out there, the chances are people will see it. So like I said, if you do 20 posts a month or 1 post a weekday, LinkedIn says that will reach 60% of your following, which is a really, really large organic reach for social media. It also establishes credibility with your connections. So when you put content up there, people start to read it and they realize that you're very credible and you're trustworthy. On the negative side of things, it's a small niche, and it tends to be a little bit slow to set up and get going, so you don't see a lot of results from the get-go. Pinterest gets more referral traffic than Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, and Google Plus combined, like I've already said. So it's very, very consumer focused. You will make sales if you have high quality visuals on Pinterest. And another positive is that your pins stay active for a long period of time. So even after you pin new content, it doesn't push your other pins down. Your pins are still on your boards. People still can find them quite easily as long as, you know, they have the right keywords and tags. The bad side of things is that it's a small niche. So 80% are women. So if that isn't your target audience, it might not necessarily be amazing for you to market on. And B2Bs are slow to pick up on Pinterest. I've started using it recently for Sfocal, and we're getting a little bit of traffic on it. I haven't committed to really getting into it yet, but it doesn't seem too bad. But other B2Bs are slow to pick up on it, so that might be why it's so slow. So it's also more effective for those businesses that have products too. So as you can see, there are a lot of pros and there are a lot of cons for every social media platform. There are even more than what I just mentioned there, but I just wanted to give you a sense of the good and the bad of each platform, and it might help you make a decision. Like I said, I would suggest just choosing one and then getting into the swing of things with that one and how to use that one for business. And then after you are comfortable and confident on that platform, and you know you can keep it consistently updated, you can start moving on to other platforms. So to get started with all of this information, you need to create a business page. All of the social media platforms I discussed today have separate business pages to personal pages, except for Twitter, where you just choose a handle name and you can get going. The only thing with Twitter is that you need to be careful what kind of handle you create. So are you going to create a handle or say a username with your business, or are you going to create one with your personal name, or are you going to mix the two and maybe have your personal name before the handle and then the handle being your business? I've seen all three work. I'm not sure which one's the best. It's up to you to figure out how you want to be portrayed on Twitter. But the rest of the pages have business pages that you need to set up. So spend some time really thoroughly filling out your page before you start sharing it with everybody. And that means contact details, which are, your email address or your different social media pages. Phone numbers are a really good way to establish trust with people. Your About Me section, again, is really, really important. So fill this out. It gives people a sense of who you are and why they should care. Profile photos and cover photos give off a really nice sense of professionalism. So definitely don't skip on this one. And when that's all done, you can add your social media links to your website and to the bottom of your emails, or to the top, wherever you like. And make sure you're sharing those links and those social media platforms all the time. So when people visit your website, they know they can keep in touch by simply clicking on the social media share icon and following you on their preferred social media platform. So once your business page is all set up, you're ready to start posting. And the easiest and most manageable way to do this is in batches. And by that, I mean scheduling all of your social sharing for the day, or for the week or for the month in one go. And this way you'll be consistently sharing content without having to take the time out of every single day to do so. So on weekends, or if you're on holidays, or you're just busy in meetings, you're still sharing content on a regular basis. You're still keeping that conversation going, and you're still staying engaged. So there are a ton of tools that help you automate your social sharing. And they include Buffer, Spokal, IFTTT, Social Oomph, Hootsuite, and there are plenty more. It just kind of comes down to your personal preferences and what you're looking for in a platform. And so we have reached the end of our webinar. Here are 4 key points to sum up what I've discussed today. So do your research and choose just one platform to get started. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to get on all the platforms at once. And I know this is kind of tempting, because when you use social media platforms for personal experience, you can kind of come and go from each platform whenever you want. Don't do this for business purposes, because there's nothing worse than seeing kind of like a wasteland of a social media profile for a business. It's not a good vibe to put out there. So definitely just research one platform and try not overwhelm yourself by getting on all of them all at once. Fill in your profiles as thoroughly as you can. Use the 5-3-2 rule and the timing guide as a template to get yourself started, but please test it and see what works best for you and for your audience. Finally, create a schedule, a posting schedule, and use a social media automation tool to share your content consistently throughout the week. So that concludes today's webinar. So now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. So is it a good idea to hire someone to handle your social media accounts? I've gotten this question before, and there's no right or wrong answer to that. If you have the budget and you don't feel super confident about being on social media, then yes. If you don't have the budget and you don't feel super confident about social media, it's not that hard to learn. It's not that hard to get comfortable on. So I would say, no, it's not worth sacrificing your budget to hire somebody to do this. And if you don't have a budget and you feel super confident, obviously go ahead and do it. It's all about just managing your time. So for me, I tend to go on social media once in the morning and once in the evening. And that's when I have like a dedicated amount of time to looking through what's going on and who's talking to us. And if anyone has any questions or are there any conversations I'd like to join in, I take the time once in the morning and once in the evening, just before I clock out from work, to make sure that there aren't any questions going unanswered. But in saying that, throughout the day, I have my notifications on my phone. So I have the Spokles Twitter account on my phone set up so that I will get notifications as, you know, we get followers, as we get retweeted, as somebody tweets us a question, etc. I get notifications straight onto my phone. And what in the zone for whatever else I'm doing. So if I'm creating, like writing blog posts, creating white papers, setting up webinars, I don't have to constantly be checking on the social media platforms, on our Twitter account, et cetera, because I always have my phone kind of alerting me to what kind of engagement we're getting there. How do you get new followers? That's a good question. And it's harder when you first start out. I would say you get new followers through joining conversations and being very active on Twitter. Also, the most obvious one that I think people forget about is liking other and following other people in your industry, and, you know, following your target audience and, you know, engaging with them. Another thing I like to do actually is join in on Twitter chats with you know, other businesses that are quite active in my industry, that maybe are more established in the industry, and I will join in on those conversations. And it's also kind of a part of being a thought leader and getting to know your audience and getting to know what problems, etc., are out there. But that's a really, really good way to find people in your industry to follow, and hopefully a lot of them will follow you back as well. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for today. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to send me an email just by replying to any of the webinar emails that you got from me. So until we meet again, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I wish you the best of luck with your social media marketing. Bye.